Museums have always been a popular center for information and culture, consistently harboring interest from people around the world. Museums aim to showcase historic events and cultural importance through various specified means. Participatory experience have become a growing element of cultural experiences, as stated by Cutler, and museums provide opportunities to access information in such interactive, engaging, and consumer-centered manner. They are essentially hubs of information and visualized education, making the material come to life in many aspects. Virtual museums, according to Encyclopaedia Britannica, are a collection of digitally recorded images, sound files, text documents, and other data of historical, scientific, or cultural interest that are accessed through electronic media. A virtual museum does not house actual objects, and most virtual museums are sponsored by institutional museums and are directly dependent upon their existing collections. Virtual museums provide an invaluable, inexpensive, accessible, and convenient opportunity for customers who are not able to otherwise enjoy museum exhibits in person for various reasons such as distance, time, physical limitations, availability, affordability, etc. With more than 500 virtual exhibits, the Virtual Museum of Canada is the largest source of online content and experiences shared by large and small Canadian museums and heritage organizations. These online exhibits explore history, culture, science, and the arts, and feature fascinating stories and treasures from communities across the country. A wealth of learning resources is also available to teachers. In 2014, the federal government transferred the Virtual Museum of Canada to the Canadian Museum of History. The museum's mandate is to enhance Canadian knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of events, experiences, people, and objects that reflect and have shaped Canada's history and identity. The addition to this program helps the museum in its mission to raise the profile of Canadian history and culture on the national and international stage. Through its investment programs, Virtual Museum Canada helps museums and heritage organizations share their stories and collections online through the Virtual Exhibits program that is intended for large, multi-year projects, and the Community Memories program, which is intended for smaller, local history projects. Under these two investment programs, eligible applicants are invited to submit proposals to produce digital content.
The Virtual Museum of Canada was established in 2001 and was transferred to the Canadian Museum of History in 2014, where it is overseen by the Canadian Heritage Information Network. The Virtual Museum acts as an aggregator of Canadiana, allowing various institutions to provide content, including close to 1,600 museums, other government agencies, educational institutions, and the private sector. This can lead to a discontinuity in the look and feel of the various exhibits, each of which is designed and created by sometimes vastly different organizations, each with a different artistic sensibility and varying levels of technical expertise. Most exhibits are hosted by the VMC, although some links in the VMC will actually take you to sites hosted on other servers, which can lead to difficulties returning to the VMC as the hosting site may have no links which can be used to return, forcing the user to repeatedly use the back button in their browser. Many of the exhibits don't make use of the latest internet technology, relying instead on older static designs that mimic a physical book or encyclopedia, with some still relying on Flash, making them unviewable on many phones and tablets, instead of using the latest HTML5 and Web 2.0 technologies, which would allow for a much more interactive experience. This approach removes much of the interactivity and personal interaction with other people that a visit to a real museum provides. There's a lot to be said for spending time in a physical space surrounded by other visitors, sharing in the enjoyment that comes with taking in the culture and history that the displays and artifacts provide. You're limited in your ability to truly examine the art or artifacts by the photos and resolutions provided by the creators of the displays. This contrasts with the many museums that offer the opportunity to study their collections in high resolution and sometimes in 3 dimensions. A good example is the online availability of high-resolution images of the collection at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, available on their website. An extra level of interactivity could be provided by a virtual presence via an avatar, as is currently offered by online communities like Second Life, where users can create their own spaces. Already used by several schools, it allows visitors to explore a virtual environment and interact with the content. Stanford University has created a virtual library that allows visitors to explore the exhibits to find the content they're looking for, with content linked to their library website. They can even join fellow students, who could be anywhere in the world, in the tea room for a face-to-face meeting. Museums can be created that offer not just exhibits, but educational lectures, and even an online gift shop. Upcoming virtual reality hardware and software will allow a whole new dimension of interactivity. While limited in their ability today, true virtual reality setups will allow visitors to not only see the artifacts in 3 dimensions, but to interact with them, picking them up and turning them around, to view them with a clarity that would be difficult to achieve even in a real museum while viewing the artifact in a display cabinet and behind glass. With simpler hardware needs, video streaming could allow visitors to explore a virtual museum using technology along the lines of Skype or FaceTime, seeing not just the exhibits, but other visitors as well, allowing them to share the experience together, discussing what they're viewing and sharing ideas and opinions in real time.
An additional method of creating discussion and participation to create community is to include hashtags with exhibit descriptions. The use of hashtags and social media applications like Instagram provide ways to engage with the content of exhibitions in creative ways. By selecting a photo subject and presenting a hashtag along with its description, visitors reframe and represent the content in new ways. This is an example of an asynchronous model of participation and networking to facilitate discussion. Visitors use social media to engage with exhibitions in rich and varied ways. These practices connect the experiences of museum visitors to a much broader online public. By building on these emerging practices, museums have the chance to enrich visitors' experiences and to extend their reach beyond museum walls.
Enhancing interactivity is of crucial importance, since users may not feel fully immersed in today's technology. Web 2.0 emergence has involved significant changes in relationships between organizations and the public, moving towards a mutual interaction through the use of dialogic communication. Dialogic theory argues that organizations should be willing to interact with publics in honest and ethical ways in order to create effective organization-public communication channels. Websites are being evaluated on their available tools and resources to promote interaction. Right now, there exist 2 different approaches to this change: those sites that focus on the production of information and those that are more oriented to public interaction. It is still indicated that websites are still in a migration period from models of unidirectional communication to a more dialogic one. Web 2.0 tools have allowed museums such as the VMC to allow active participation in the forms of debate, discussion, and the exchange of information. Interactivity on the internet and social media are transitioning from simple forms of communication and enriching the process through active interaction.